Welcome to Theology Unpacked. Today, we are digging into one of the most famous and, let's be honest, one of the most challenging commands in the entire Bible. Love your neighbor as yourself.
I mean, we've all heard this phrase a million times, right? But have you ever stopped to think about what it really means? Is it about having warm, fuzzy feelings for everyone? Or is it something more? And the biggest question of all, who exactly counts as my neighbor? Well, let's dive in and really unpack this thing.
So to really get a handle on this, we've got to go back to the source. Now, this command actually shows up first in the Old Testament, in the book of Leviticus, but it's Jesus who takes this idea and puts it right at the center of everything.
You say, when a religious expert asked Jesus, what's the single most important commandment? Jesus didn't just give one, he gave two. He said loving God and loving your neighbor. Well, those are the two pillars that hold up everything else the scriptures teach about how we should live.
Think about it like this. If all the moral teachings in the Bible are a building, then these two commands are the foundation. They're what everything else is built on. Your love for God is the vertical beam, connecting you upward. And your love for your neighbor, that's the horizontal beam, connecting you to everyone around you. You absolutely cannot have a stable structure without both. And this wasn't just some one-time thing Jesus said. The Apostle Paul really hammers this point home later on. He basically says, look, if you just focus on genuinely loving your neighbor, you'll end up fulfilling all the other social rules without even trying. You're not going to steal from someone you love, right? Love becomes the engine that drives all your actions.
Okay, so if this command is that important, what does it actually look like in practice? The Bible gets super practical here, and you might be surprised where it starts. It's not with feelings, but with good old-fashioned justice.
So the baseline for loving your neighbor, according to the scriptures, is actually about protection. It's this whole list of do-nots that essentially build a fence of safety around your neighbor. It means you're actively shielding their property, their reputation, and their well-being from any kind of harm. It starts with not doing wrong to them.
But it doesn't stop there. The scriptures push this idea of justice even further, calling for something radical, complete impartiality. Just think about how revolutionary this is. It's saying you can't play favorites, you can't give the rich guy a pass, and you can't automatically side with the poor guy just because he's the underdog. It's like being a referee in the Super Bowl. Your job isn't to help your favorite team, it's to call the game by the book, no matter who the players are. That's the kind of unbiased justice the Bible says we owe our neighbors.
But, love isn't just about not causing harm. That's the foundation. On top of that, there's this powerful, positive call to actively do good.
And here we have the other side of the coin, the golden rule. If the do-nots of justice are the protective fence, this rule opens the gate and tells us to walk through it. It's really the ultimate empathy test, isn't it? Just ask yourself, how would I want to be treated in this situation? And then, go and do that.
And the Bible doesn't just leave this as an abstract idea. It gives really concrete examples. Back then, it meant things like leaving the edges of your crops for the poor to gather. It meant sharing what you have with others in your community. And yes, opening your home to strangers.
Now, what I find really striking here is the sense of urgency that's attached to all this. Love doesn't procrastinate. It acts like a first responder. If you have what your neighbor needs right now, the command is to give it to them right now. Telling them, come back tomorrow when you could help them today, the Bible sees that as a real failure to love.
So we've got justice and we've got generosity. That sounds pretty straightforward. But it all comes down to one massive, critical question. A question someone once asked Jesus directly.
I mean, really? Is it the person who lives next door? Someone who looks like me and thinks like me? Someone from my own country? How we answer this question changes. Well, it changes everything.
Jesus' answer came in the form of a story, the parable of the Good Samaritan. And the hero of that story, the one who truly acted like a neighbor, was a total outsider, a foreigner, who helped a man who had been beaten and left for dead. The takeaway is huge. Your neighbor isn't defined by their address or their background. Your neighbor is anyone and everyone who crosses your path in need.
And this wasn't even a new idea. It actually echoes a theme found all over the Old Testament. The law repeatedly commanded the people of Israel to love the foreigner living among them with the exact same standard they used for themselves. The circle was always meant to be wide open.
But the Bible doesn't stop there. It pushes this definition to its absolute breaking point limit. It presents one final, incredible challenge that really tests what we think we know about love.
And there it is, probably the hardest thing Jesus ever asked anyone to do. It's not enough to love your friends or strangers or even foreigners. The command goes all the way.
It includes the very people who hate you, who want to harm you. This is what turns love your neighbor from a nice social idea into a world-changing, totally countercultural act of grace.
So let's just pull this all together. This one simple command, love your neighbor, is way more than it seems. First, it's a foundational command, a cornerstone of all ethics in the Bible. Second, it's a love that's active, not passive, expressed through both justice and generosity. And third, its scope is absolutely universal, stretching to include not just friends and strangers, but even your enemies.
Which brings us right back to the beginning, but hopefully with a much deeper and, probably a more challenging picture. It's clearly not just a sweet sentiment. It's a radical, life-altering call to action. So the only question left is, what does living this out look like for you today? Thanks for tuning in to Theology Unpacked. Please like, subscribe, and share this with the first person you thought of who needs to hear it.